Aprilia RSV4 1100 Factory Best Motorcycle Review. New electronic suspension delivers Öhlins goodness in all conditions and is the cherry on top of over a decade of development. Welcome to the 2020 Aprilia RSV4 1100 Factory Review. But what's in a name? Aprilia's RSV4 lineage stretches back all the way to 2009, and in that time very little has changed on the outside. But underneath its familiar curves, it's been constantly developed to a point where in 2019, with its new 1.1-liter engine and weight-saving measures, it became the lightest and more powerful full-production RSV4 ever. But just a year later, the range-topping factory gains another string to its bow in the shape of electronic Öhlins suspension, which Aprilia says is worth half a second a lap around Mugello and smoother on the road. It's still one of the fastest production superbikes around a racetrack, flexible on the road and with such a high spec level, better value than its exotic superbike rivals. New electronic suspension delivers Öhlins goodness in all conditions and is the cherry on top of over a decade of development, where every step of the way the Aprilia has flourished to become more refined, faster, evocative, and ever eager to please. It's still tiny and uncompromising, which will put some people off, but it's hard to know where they can go with the RSV4 now, it's that impressive. Ride quality and brakes. Now the factory's suspension and steering damper self-adjusts electronically, like the 1920s, but it doesn't have gas forks, like the 2020 Blade SP, constantly changing to suit the conditions. The semi-active units are no longer a compromise between hard and soft. The old Öhlins setup weren't exactly filling shakers, and the quality of the ride and the confidence they gave in corners was immense, but now the RSV4 is that bit plusher over bumps and more controlled when you push hard. But it hasn't morphed into a tourer overnight, it's still taut, high and barely sinks down when you plunk yourself on. Aprilia's traction, wheelie and engine braking control were upgraded in 2019 and are still among the best business. They remain untouched for 2020, but rain, sport or track rider modes now link into the semi-active suspension. At the touch of a button you can have a stiff, supportive RSV4 for track days, a soft one for the wet or somewhere in between for dry roads. Delve into the setup menus and you can fine-tune it further or lock the Öhlins into its fully adjustable manual mode. Like the S1000RR, you also get cruise control, a godsend for motorway blasts. Engine. The Italian's 1077 cubic centimeters 65 degrees V4 motor is a mechanical marvel. Yowling, howling, full of grunt and searing revs, it's what makes its Tuono sister such a formidable super. Naked and tuned to give 214 brake horsepower, with high compression pistons, extra oil cooling jets, new mapping and Lorry inlet cams, it's the brawn behind the RSV4's electrifying speed. It replaced the old liter lump last year and remains unchanged, but during our 2019 Superbike shootout the Aprilia was quick enough to see off the Panigale V4S and S1000RR on track. On the road it's so flexible you don't need to stomp up and down the gears to keep things flowing, like its peakier rivals. It averages 40 miles per gallon and does 162 miles to a 18.5-liter tank. Reliability and build quality. Our owners' reviews are generally glowing for the RSV4 and the naked Tuono version, but there are reports of the odd mechanical, electronic and quality control problems, which have even affected Aprilia's press bikes we've tested. It shouldn't put you off buying, but it's something to keep in mind. Value versus rivals. It still doesn't have LED headlights, which will disappoint some, and its 2020 satin black paint isn't to everyone's taste, but it has all the goodies boxes ticked, and like its rivals, it has cutting-edge rider aids, a lithium battery and a top draw-up/down auto blipper. Designer brakes, suspension and wings give it a more exotic feel than the cheaper BMW S1000RRM package, and forged aluminium wheels put it ahead of the more expensive new Honda Fireblade CBR 1000RR Fireblade SP. Its generous swaths of carbon goodies and beautiful, blued and purpled titanium Akrapovic exhaust makes the even pricier Ducati Panigale V4S look decidedly ordinary. Equipment. Styling has remained largely unchanged since the RSV4's inception, but its angular lines seem to get better with age, especially when they're embellished with MotoGP's carbon fiber bellypan louvers and a new front fuel tank cover. But it's still one of the smallest superbikes you can buy, so if you're not racer-shaped its tall pegs will squash your knees, compared to an R1, S1000RR or Panigale V4. It also keeps the carbon wings it sprouted last year, which will stop it taking off at Mugello, and magnificently powerful Brembo Stylema calipers, which are now finished black.